Thank you for coming back. If you're here for the first time, you are always welcome in my kitchen. If you've been here before, you know the deal. We're going to kick it off with talking about how you can interact with us. So we will be monitoring the comments in our Facebook Live. You can ask questions, you can drop your thoughts. And for this recipe, if this is something that's near and dear to your culture and your family, I definitely want to hear from you and talk about the differences and the different takes that we'll make on this recipe today. But before we get into that, no one won the Instapot last week. So the Instapot is still up for grabs, and we're going to sweeten the deal this week. If you go out to your app store, the Google Play Store on Android, the App Store on an iPhone or iPad, and download the Mile app, M-Y-L-E, Making Your Life Entertaining app. Download that app. Find our event today. It shouldn't be too difficult to find. Find our event. Find Foodie-licious Friday. Search for it. Dig for it. Once you get there, all you got to do is interact with our host. All you have to do is interact with our host. And not only can you win an Instapot, but we're going to sweeten the deal and throw in this limited edition Sulli's Kitchen apron. We only made a handful of these. Most of them went to friends and family, but we're going to save one just for you. So whoever wins that Instapot, you're going to have a chance to get that limited edition apron too. So again, go to your app store, download the Mile app, and make sure you find our event, Foodie-licious Friday, and interact with our host. That's all you have to do. You can do that right now while you're sitting here watching our show. Grab another device, turn us on your computer, download it on your app store, and you can win not only that Instapot, but you can also pick up that limited edition Sulli's Kitchen apron designed by my friends over at the Hill King Supply Company, at Hill King Supply Co. on Instagram and Facebook as well. So let's talk about last week. Wow. We jumped into our first episode talking about appropriation in food culture and what that looked like and how we could show honor, but also keep pushing boundaries as we get into the kitchen as we're working. So this week, we're going to take a little bit of a different approach. We're going to talk about intersectionality through food. Now, if you know me, I'm a D&I professional by day, and really it lives in my blood. So I can't even say by day. It's by day, by night, by sleep, by when I'm awake. All day long, I'm a D&I professional. So when I think about intersectionality, I'm always looking for those points where culture meets culture, where people meet people, where humanity meets humanity. So today, we're going to talk about something that's super common across cultures. I had this conversation with a friend of mine, and actually I had a similar conversation with my mom just a couple of weeks ago. We were talking about how different cultures had the same techniques, the same recipes, but it's called one thing over here and another thing over there. So all my life, one of the things that I always loved is when I came in, I knew this smell. I knew when my mom was making her famous soy sauce chicken. And that's what we called it. I didn't know it had a different name, but I knew when she was making it that I was going to be happy. I was going to get 2 drumsticks. I was going to get some rice, and I was going to be a happy little kid. Even into my teens, my mom would always get mad at me because as it was cooking, when I knew it was done, I would stand over the pot with a spoon and literally drink the sauce from a spoon because it was so amazing. And I'd ask her every time, even though I knew the answer, Mom, what's in this? And she said, oh, it's some soy sauce and it's some vinegar and it's some brown sugar and some garlic and some other stuff. I didn't know what the other stuff was. I just knew that it went in the pot and it came out amazing. So I now have my own version of her recipe. But this chicken, this chicken adobo or adobo chicken, depending on how you say it in our culture, isn't unique to Panama. In fact, you can go to just about every Spanish-speaking country in the Western Hemisphere, and you're going to find some variation of this. You can go even further to our brothers and sisters in the Philippines, and they've got their versions of this recipe as well. And I say versions because if you know anything about our culture, everybody has their own tweak. Everybody makes it a little bit different, and everybody thinks theirs is the best. When the truth is, it's delicious no matter where you get it from. So we're gonna jump into this adobo chicken recipe today. We're gonna have some fun with it. I'm gonna tell you some stories along the way, a little bit about Panama, where I come from, where my mom comes from, but we're gonna have a good time tonight. So to start, I wanna go through our ingredients, and that means that we gotta go grab our chicken out of the refrigerator. So let me do that. And I've got a bowl of fresh, clean chicken legs. Now, why is that important? I'm gonna start some fights here, but where I come from, we clean our chicken. So this chicken came out the pack. This chicken went under hot water with a little bit of vinegar. This chicken got scrubbed. It got all the little feather pieces that may have been remaining, but we clean our chicken where I come from. I don't care what anybody else says. My right answer is we clean our chicken. You'll hear some folks say that, you just throw it in the pan will cook it. You might be spreading stuff if you cook it. Well, where I come from, not only do you clean it, but when you're done, you clean the sink and then you wash your hands. That's how you know you got clean chicken. So in Sulli's kitchen, we clean our chicken. So this has been sitting in the refrigerator, getting a little air dry, getting that last bit of moisture out. Let's go through the rest of our ingredients. To my left, I've got off camera, I've got some soy sauce. I've got a blend of apple cider vinegar and rice vinegar. When we start adding these ingredients together, I'll tell you why I have a blend. I've got some brown sugar, some pepper, some grated ginger, some sliced garlic, and a chili pepper that I sliced really, really thin. It's not too hot. It's a Mexican chili. I'll show it to you in just a little bit. And then I've got a shallot. And we're going to use all of that to make something pretty amazing. So thank you, Debbie. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad it sounds delicious. I can't wait for you to make it. I hope that you use that. Rob, I see you out there. You said, what kind of soap do you use to clean your chicken? Hot water and white vinegar. That's what we use to clean our chicken. No soap was harmed in the cleaning of this chicken. Ain't no Dawn here. Just some hot water and a little bit of vinegar to scrub that chicken. Just make sure you get the impurities off. Get it out that pack. It's been sitting on that moisture pad for so long. Just got to get rid of that. So let's start by making our marinade. So I'm going to grab my mixing bowl here and my spoon, and we're going to start putting some ingredients together. So the first thing I have is a 1/3 cup of soy sauce. So that's going to go right in our bowl here. 1/3 cup of soy sauce. Now, you can do a little more, you can do a little less. It's totally up to you. And I like to use light soy sauce. One, for a couple of reasons. It has less salt, and your chicken doesn't come out super dark, really dark brown, almost black. It still looks appealing, still looks delicious. It's got a nice golden brown color to it when it comes out. Next up is our vinegar. So I've got a 1/2 cup of apple cider vinegar and a 1/4 cup of rice vinegar. You can do this with all apple cider vinegar. You can do it with all rice vinegar. You can do this with white vinegar if you want to. What this is going to do is actually soften up that chicken as it's simmering in the pot. But I like the flavor of rice vinegar. So where apple cider vinegar has that really tart, really tangy flavor to it, rice vinegar is delicious. It's got this really smooth, almost delicate flavor. You don't need a ton of it. So I like to blend the two to get the best of both worlds. But what we're actually describing in today's segment is concept cooking. Now, that might be the first time you've heard it because I just made it up today when I was thinking about this. Concept cooking. We're cooking with what we have available to us. We're not really measuring a ton of things out. I'm going to give you some suggested measurements, but we're going with heart feel. This is my mama's recipe. I'm sharing my version of that with you. This is all from the heart. So I've got about a 1/2 cup, like I said, of apple cider vinegar and about a 1/4 cup of rice vinegar. And that's going to go in our bowl as well. So we'll put that right in with our soy sauce. Let those do their thing. Next up, brown sugar. Now, totally up to you. You can use white sugar. You can use brown sugar. You can use honey. You can use molasses. You can use agave. You can use whatever you want. You can use any combination of those things. As long as you remember that you need about 3 tablespoons of sweet total, roughly in that space. So I'm going to put about 2.5 tablespoons of brown sugar in here, but I'm also going to put some richness to it. I'm going to put a little bit of honey in ours as well. Again, just some contrasting flavor, not overpowering the brown sugar, just complementing it, giving it a little balance as we go through here. Next piece, I've got a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. You can go more, you can go less. It's totally up to you, but that's what we're working with. Next up, I've got about a tablespoon of fresh grated ginger. Now, it's fresh grated, but I want to show you something because this product exists and it saves time. So, in the international section of your grocery store, you can buy a jar of minced ginger for about $2 or $3. This jar is pretty cheap. If you buy fresh ginger, yeah, it's super affordable, but you have to use it up fairly quickly before it starts to turn on you and go bad. Fresh ginger can grow mold really easy, especially if you're storing it at room temperature. So sometimes it's okay to make a jar swap. I wouldn't recommend this with garlic. I'm not a fan of how those jars of garlic come out. I prefer to slice mine. I don't even like to use a garlic press, but as it relates to this ginger, the jar ginger is pretty good because it's literally just grated and the ginger and the juice that comes from it goes right into the jar. So I wanted to show you that so you know you have an alternative. So this is about a tablespoon, maybe a tablespoon and a half of fresh grated ginger that we'll throw in there. And then we got the good stuff. We got some garlic. Now I want to show you how I like to put together my garlic because you can see it's sliced thin. I actually work this with a mandolin, but you can do it with a knife too. So I've got a clove here. I'm going to show you a couple different ways that you can put together your garlic. So the first one, we'll do it with the wrapper still on, the paper that naturally is a part of the garlic. So I'm just going to put a knife on there, give it a couple pounds. That paper comes right off. You get your finger up under there, all that paper will come off for you. But it also breaks up your garlic. So now that garlic is ready to work. Now you can slice it long ways, you can slice it short ways. It's totally up to you. I'm going to get a good grip on my knife and I'm just going to work it down into paper thin slices. All right, so we got that there. So that's one way to do it. I'm going to throw all of this into my marinade, my sauce here. And then we've got one already peeled. Maybe you want yours in larger chunks. That's totally okay. Just turn it short ways. And you can chop it into chunkier pieces if you want. This is all about preference. I like to keep mine thin. I think it sort of melts better into the sauce, gives off its flavor. That's my preference. But you can do it however you like. I just want to give you a couple of options. So we need about 6 cloves total. I just threw 2 in there. Gonna throw a few more in there. And here's the fun part. We're gonna save the rest of this because we're actually gonna toast this with the chicken in the pan as we're browning it off. So we'll set that off to the side and we'll come back to it. Next up is our shallot. So I've got 1 shallot here and we're gonna do the same thing we just did with our garlic, which is thin slices. So I'm gonna cut off this tip, get rid of that paper there. When you are cutting a shallot, it is bound and determined to make you cry, but you can lessen the effects if you leave this root ball on the end of the shallot while you're cutting it. So if you can help it, leave that root ball on the shallot. So I've got my shallot on the board and I'm just gonna make some slices, thin slices straight down. When I get about halfway, I'll flip it around. I'll do the same thing. There we go. And then once I know I'm done, I can cut it away from that root and get the pieces that I need. There we go. Get rid of that. This is going to go in the bowl too, right into the bowl. And last but not least, we've got that awesome chili that's going to give some really good flavor. Now, when people think of chilies, especially as it relates to Latin influenced cuisine, they think everything is super hot and spicy. It's not. So I've got some sliced up chilies here. This is actually what's called a sweet twister. This is a Mexican chili. Essentially, the rules with chili is the longer it is, the less spicy it is. Now, that's not a hard and fast rule. It's a principle, so keep that in mind. But the longer the pepper is, the less spicy it's going to be. So you can see, again, same principle. I made some really thin slices here. I'll show you how. We'll lay the pepper out. I'm just going to cut it to get it to a flat spot where I feel comfortable slicing it. I can save that bit for another use. And then I'm just going to run some slices down. And because this chili is so large, I'm probably not going to cut a whole chili. I want to save some for garnish, but I want to have enough that it's going to flavor my sauce. So I'm going to save these pretty ones for garnish, and I'm going to go ahead and put the rest of this into our marinade. And then I'll use the same bowl so we don't have any waste, less dishes to clean up when we're done, and we're good to go. And then I'll set the rest of this pepper off to save for another use as well. So we've got all our ingredients together. What we need to do now is mix them up. And really, we just want to mix them up until the brown sugar is dissolved and the honey is also dissolved into our mix. Give that a good stir. I wish you could smell this. If you are following along at home, hopefully this smells amazing to you. Tasha, I see you. You know, I always got you, your family, so I can hook you up. You know, you have the recipe, and you can always cook along. You can call me while you're cooking. I will be right there beside you on the pot line, making sure you have everything you need. So next thing for us to do is to start cooking. But I don't want to waste any of this flavor. I want to use it to its full potential. So before I put my oil in the pot and we wait for this pot to come up to temperature, I'm going to go ahead and grab my tongs and put my chicken right in the marinade. No sense in wasting time and effort. We just made this delicious marinade. Now, if you choose to, and depending on your culture, some folks may tell you to put this in the marinade for 30 minutes. They may tell you to put it in the marinade for 24 hours. It's totally up to you. It's whatever you want to do. So I like to put this in there. I'll take my same spoon, work it around, and just let the chicken sit there for a minute or two while we work. Because the rest of this is going to go pretty quick. The only ingredient that we're missing is going to be our vegetable oil that we'll use in just a second to brown off our chicken and garlic, and 1/4 to 1/2 cup of water that we'll use when we get everything into the pot for its nice little heart. So let's get started. Going to turn on our heat. If you've been with me before, you know the rule is we don't put oil into a cold pan. So we'll turn on our pot here, and we're going to put it on about medium-high heat. So if you're looking at your dial, if it's electric, just look for a middle spot between medium and high. If it's gas, we're talking somewhere in the 6-7 range on your dial. So whatever you're using, look for medium-high heat. And it will not take long for this to work. Now, I'm using a cast enamel pot. You can use a regular pot. I don't like to cook this recipe in a skillet. I like to have the pot where everything can bubble up. That steam gets trapped, it falls back down. But use whatever you have available to you as you're working through this. So again, checking our temperature in the pot. It's not quite warm. I can start to feel a little warmth here, but not enough yet that I'm ready to put my oil in. For our oil, we're going to be using about 2 tablespoons of vegetable, peanut oil, whatever you got. I don't recommend using olive oil for this recipe because we want to get a pretty good sear on our chicken. We're going to be stuffing it in here. I don't recommend using olive oil because olive oil has a lower smoke point than your peanut, your vegetable, your canola oils. That's why you don't deep fry things in olive oil. So for this one, use the classics: vegetable, canola, peanut, whatever you have on hand. Debbie's cooking with me. She said, I wish I could smell it. My husband's gonna love it. Debbie, I want to see how it turns out. You can always tag us, tag ColumbusBlack.com, tag Sulli's Kitchen. Make sure you're following both of us, but hopefully since you're here, you are. And we definitely want to see how it goes when you make this for your husband. We can't wait to hear how this turns out for you. So I'm going to check my heat one more time. We're starting to get there. We're starting to get there. I feel a little warmth coming on. I feel a little warm. And now, because there's just enough heat, I can go ahead and add my oil now. I don't have to worry about my oil burning when I put it in the pan. So put about 2 tablespoons in there. And what we're waiting for, again, this is concept cooking. So what we're waiting for is our eyes to tell us that this oil is ready. I'll know it's ready when I start to see what looks like ripples or shimmers going across the oil. That means the oil's hot enough. It's starting to thin out. It's starting to move a little bit better. So I'll know that my oil is ready for me to start browning chicken off into it. So we'll let that come up. Another easy way that you can test, take a couple of those slices of garlic, put them in the oil. That's the sound we're looking for. That's what we're looking for. We got a little sizzle coming off of that. We can go ahead and put in the rest of our garlic. And we're going to let this sizzle for only about 30 seconds. So get that in there. Use your tongs, move it around, get it into a nice even bed. See that smoke coming off? That's goodness right there. That's love coming out the pot. And we're about to put some more in it. So we got a nice little here. You don't want your garlic to turn brown. So if you see it start to turn brown quickly, that means we need to turn our heat down because it's a little too hot. But we're doing good. All right. We ready. Our pot is ready. So we're going to take our chicken and we're just trying to sear off on all sides. That's the sound of magic. That's what we're looking for. Get all your chicken pieces in the pot. There we go. One more to get in the pool. And we're going to let this work for about 3 to 4 minutes per side. We're just looking for color here. That's it. We're not trying to hard sear the chicken and cook it all the way through. We're just looking for color. A little bit of gold, a little bit of brown, not too much though. So we'll let that get in there. And we can leave that undisturbed. I lost my spoon in my marinade. Let me save it. Now, one of the questions I always get when we have adobo chicken and you're not used to it, you've never had it before, it's not new, it's new to your culture. Can I do this with chicken breasts? And more specifically, can I do it with boneless, skinless chicken breasts? Now, I'm not going to tell you you can't. I'm just going to tell you it's not going to taste as good. You need dark meat chicken for this to be as delicious as it can be. So make sure you're using legs. You can do this with thighs. You can do it with leg quarters. But only use chicken breast if you absolutely have to. And you want the skin. This is delicious. We're stewing this chicken. We're not making anything unhealthy. That's not what we're doing here. We're making something fun. It's flavorful. You can splurge a little bit and go for the dark meat chicken with the legs and the thighs. So I'm going to start turning mine. There we go. Getting some color. Turn that over there. There we go. All right. And I want to show you, I'm going to turn my heat down a little bit. I want to show you, this is the color we're talking about. That little bit of dark, that's going to taste so good when we let this stew off. So that's the color that we're talking about. We'll go ahead and take that. We're going to turn our heat down to medium low. So we're looking for about 3 or 4 on the dial. And we're going to take the rest of this marinade Make sure you get all the bits down in there, get all the flavor down in there. And we're gonna put that right over the top. And now everything's quiet again, but we're not quite done. Remember, we need a quarter cup of water. If you go over, it's okay. Remember, concept cooking. If you go over on a measurement, that's fine. If you go under on a measurement, that's fine too. Then go ahead and put this here. Just that little bit of water. We're gonna put the lid on and we're gonna say goodnight for about 30 minutes. This chicken needs to stay wrapped up, wonderful. You gotta trust it. No peeking, no looking. Just trust that this chicken is gonna come out amazing. Now, on to some fun stuff. Let me move this out the way. I want to wash my tongs real quick, get my cutting board out of the way. This is where you miss the magic of TV. I got to go off camera to wash my hands and clean my utensils. On TV, they just got it right there next to them. They don't have to leave the scene. Just come back and they're right there. So let's get cleaned up here. Now, let's talk about where I come from. So if you follow me on Instagram or Facebook, you saw that when we started advertising this week's class, we put up a map of Panama. A couple people reached out and said, hey, you know that's not where the capital of Panama is, because I put a little star there. And I said, yeah, but it's the capital for me. So my mom comes from a little town about 2 hours west of Panama City. It's called Agua Dulce. Translated, it actually means sweet water. And I think my mom is the sweetest thing in the world, so I think it's a fitting name to come from. But it's about 2 hours or so outside of Panama City. You can actually catch a bus from Panama City to Agua Dulce for about $17. Super cheap, super affordable to get there. So I had the opportunity to travel there as a really young kid. I had actually just turned 4. And I'm blessed because my older sister, she remembers more of that experience than I do, but there's still some really fond parts that I remember. So my grandfather, who is now since passed, lived in an apartment over a butcher shop. And when I say apartment, I don't mean some small, tiny place. Now, his apartment, you know, I thought we were living luxurious, but I was 4. I didn't know any better. But it was over a butcher shop. So I guess even though I've been cooking since about 11, you can say my first real experience with being interested in food and ingredients probably came then. Because every day we would watch the trucks come in from the farm and we would literally go downstairs and watch the butcher shop do their thing. And they would show us how they were doing it and what they were doing. And my sister remembers so much more than me. But I'll never forget that I remember at least that part of being old enough to remember seeing the trucks come in every day. Panama is such a vibrant and beautiful place. You know, I don't like to use the term melting pot. So when I think about Panama, I think about it more as almost like a quilt. So every part of the quilt, it's its own little square. And that little square is beautiful and it's amazing. But it's not its best self until it's attached to all the other squares that make up that whole quilt. So when I think of Panama, that's what I think about, because it's one of the most diverse places on the planet. So we're using soy sauce in a dish, and we immediately, in America at least, our minds think soy sauce. Oh, that's Asian, and we might even objectify it further and say, well, that's Chinese. It's not. It's Asian. It comes from plenty of cultures. But Panama has one of the largest Chinese specific and Asian populations in the Western Hemisphere. In fact, Panama actually has the oldest Chinatown in the Western Hemisphere. Now, everybody thinks it's San Francisco. They think it's New York. It's not. Panama's Chinatown was actually established prior to all of them. The reason why San Francisco tries to claim that they have the oldest Chinatown is because Chinatown in Panama has migrated over the years from one area to another. But that doesn't mean that it stopped existing and then reappeared. So Panama is really unique in that. It's also really unique in that we have more biodiversity in the ocean than really anywhere. I mean, we're surrounded by two oceans. We are literally the connector of worlds in Panama. So if you want to travel from the Atlantic to the Pacific, vice versa, you got to go through the Panama Canal. So all of those workers, all of those cultures that became a part of Panama. So you have this really diverse background, this really diverse group of folks. You've got folks that come from what's known locally to some as the jungle side versus the city side. It depends on where you come from. And a lot of those folks that come from the quote unquote jungle side, they actually can trace their roots back to the Aztecs. So now you get into Central American Indians. Now you get into kingdoms that existed long before any of us, excuse me, or our ancestors ever thought about stepping foot in North or Central America. It's just one of the most unique places. One of the things that's so cool is that you can go fish, or you can pay a fisherman to literally go out to the water, catch you some fish, walk it up the beach, and there are booths there where there are chefs. And I call them chefs because they do this on the fly. The menu's different every day. But there are chefs in booths who will take that fresh fish from you, say, how do you want it? You want it grilled? You want it steamed? You want it blackened? You want it fried? What do you want? And they will bust out a full meal for you right there on the beach. You can't get that anywhere else. That's only happening in Panama. It's just such a wonderful place. I hope to go back one day. COVID kind of messed that up for me a little bit. But I do hope to go back one day so that I can get a better appreciation of my roots and where I come from. But one of the other things that we're famous for is sugarcane. I can still remember being there as a kid and my mom literally cutting a piece of sugarcane off the plant, and she started chewing on it. Mom, what's that? Why are you chewing that plant? This is sugarcane, honey. And she cut us a piece and she handed it to us. And as soon as you bite it, you get this rush of sweet water that just flows in. You can literally chew the sugar out of the sugar cane. And it's just such a cool experience. So anytime I go somewhere and I see sugar cane, I get excited. I usually end up buying it. I can't eat it all before it dries out, but it makes me think of my mom and what she showed us in that little bit of time and the little bits that I can remember. But sugarcane is famous for something else. So Panama has a national liquor, and it's called Herrano. It's made from sugarcane. It's a neutral spirit, almost like vodka, but it can be difficult to find in the States. So I wanted to make a special cocktail with all of you, and we're going to use that neutral spirit. We're going to use its cousin. We're going to use white rum. So let me grab my ingredients and bring them over. Got a little board here. I've got my white rum. I've got some strawberry simple syrup that I made last night, special for this drink. Strawberry simple syrup. Simple syrup is easy. Equal parts sugar and water in a pot. Let it simmer until all the sugar is dissolved. You got simple syrup. You want to throw some fruit in there, like I did with the strawberries. Slice up about a cup of strawberries, mash up a cup of berries, whatever you like. Put it in the pot. Let it simmer. Strain it off. What you're going to come out with is this beautiful red colored simple syrup. I've got some mint. It looks a little sad, but mint's not in season right now, so I'll take what I can get. And I've got this special little powder here that I'll show you what we're going to do with here in just a second. Got my shaker. Got my glass. Let's grab our ice. So got some crushed ice here, and we are ready to get started. So to make our drink, again, concept cooking, same as concept cocktails. We're gonna measure this by counting. So let me take my cap off here. I need about 2 ounces of this rum. So that's an 8 count when I start pouring. So we'll count it out together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There we go. A little extra for the fun. All right. We got that. I need about an ounce of lemon juice. I don't like to buy the bottled lemon juice. You can if you want, totally your prerogative. I like to buy lemons. I'm fortunate enough to have a juicer attachment for my KitchenAid. I also have a manual juicer. Do whatever works for you, but I need about 1 ounce of this. So this is a 4 count, or in this case, with this particular bottle, that's about 2 long squeezes and 1 short one. So 1, 2, there we go. We'll do it 3. I like it a little sour. So what we're making is called a Seco sour. And so the Herrerano is called Seco Herrerano. We just shorten it to Seco sour. So I need 1 ounce of my strawberry simple syrup as well. Boom, we put that in there. I'm gonna do 2 squirts because this stuff is delicious. I made it last night, I tasted it, and it's just off the charts. I see you with the heavy pour, you like me. Now we need some ice for this, but I don't want to use crushed ice because the crushed ice will water down the drink. So I'm gonna get some real cubes. You're gonna hear my refrigerator. It's okay. Remember, we're in a real kitchen doing real cooking. All right, got that filled up. Got my top, got my shaker. Before I shake that up, I am gonna fill my glass with crushed ice though. And I want this to be pretty full. There we go. Making a mess here, just the way I like it. We'll toss that in the sink, get that out of the way. Perfect. Now we're gonna shake for about 10 seconds. Make sure the cap is on tight, give it a tap. All right, so we're good there. Let's start pouring. I'm only gonna fill this up about halfway because as much as we are honoring the past, remember I told you, we're also gonna push to the future. So I'm gonna take my cap back off and I'm gonna put in some butterfly pea powder. Now this actually comes from a plant called the butterfly pea plant. I can get that out. Has Asian roots. Some cultures use it for healing, for calming. I use it because it does something awesome when you add it to liquid. So let's shake this for another 10. There we go. Move our glass. And oh, let's pour that on there. And I'm pouring slow because I want to give it that goodness. And now we got a 2021 version of the Seco sour. So now we just need to garnish it. So I'm gonna take this strawberry and this lime. I'm gonna cut the lime in half. Give me a good slice here. Perfect. Wedge that lime on my glass. I'm gonna take the strawberry, make a slit down the side. Stick that on my glass. And then I'm gonna take a little bit of this, the best looking parts of the mint I can find. And I'm gonna tuck that right into my glass. And that is the Sulli's Kitchen Seco sour, straight from Panama to you. It tastes amazing. I got a little extra in a glass here. Where'd my shaker go? Listen, that's too pretty. We got to take some pictures of that. So I'm gonna take this little bit of extra here. We're not too proud. Right out the mixing cup. And when I tell you that's delicious, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. We done something now. This is why you need to come to Foodie-licious Friday. This is why you need to come to Foodie-licious Friday. This is the only place you're gonna learn how to make this cocktail. I'm not putting this on my site. I'm not putting this on ColumbusBlack. The only people that know how to make this cocktail now are you. And we're gonna post a picture of it. We're gonna make everybody jealous. And they're gonna wish they had come and hung out with us to make this chicken adobo and this Seco sour. Seco is spelled S-E-C-O. If you are wondering, you can Google that. But here's what I'm going to do for you. I'm officially opening up the pot line. So if you need help in the kitchen, you can text 614-758-7510. Got some ingredients and don't know what to cook? Hit me on the pot line. Trying to salvage a dinner? Hit me on the pot line. Got guests coming and need some ideas for what to do to entertain on a budget? Or maybe you just want to pop off and show them what you can really do in the kitchen? Make sure you text me there. 614-758-7510. All right, let's make some fake TV magic. All right. So I'm going to set my drink off to the side, try not to hit my head on my own light. And we are actually going to swap out some pots. Actually, turn that back up. There we go. So because I knew everybody would want to know how this was going to turn out, I was a step ahead of the game. I made a batch that just finished. So we're going to put this here and we're going to turn our heat up, because what we're going to do, let me get my pretty plate out. What they say, do it for the gram. Well, we're going to do it. Let me get my pretty plate out. Let's take this lid off. Oh my goodness, I wish you could see this chicken, but you're going to see it in just a second. Let me dry my tongs off now that I cleaned them. Set that off to the side. And Lord have mercy, we got some beautiful chicken coming out of this pot. I'm going to pull my bay leaves as they're coming out here. We don't need those anymore. We got some beautiful chicken. Go ahead and turn that down. So the reason I turned the heat up for just a minute is because I want this sauce to thicken. This sauce ain't done. It didn't just serve as a marinade and a cooking element. Oh no, this is the sauce that everybody's gonna want. And when I tell you this chicken has fall off the bone, I literally just pulled out a bone, folks. That's how tender this chicken is. So we're gonna grab the chicken, it's okay. And we're gonna put it in our pot. That's the part you sneak a taste on before you give it to everybody. So we got that there. You throw that on top. Put the bone in the back. Got to get it for the pictures, you know. All right. Got all that chicken meat there. Let's get our bay leaves out. All right. Let's go ahead and turn off our heat if you haven't already. We don't need this on anymore. I'm going to grab a new spoon because I lost track of the one I had before. And we got a couple steps left. The first step is to pour all this goodness right over our chicken. Right over top of our chicken. Get all those garlic bits, all that flavor. Get that right there. We'll throw this out to the side. We don't need it anymore. Now we just got to garnish. So I bring my cutting board back in. I'm going to grab 2 fresh green onions. I'm going to grab this stem right here. And we're going to cut us up some green onions to go with it. So I grab my chopping knife here. And I'm going to cut off the white part. You can totally use the white part if you want to. It's up to you. Now, secret, you put this in a little dirt, a little water. You can grow some green onions right off of the stem, and you don't have to buy them from the store. You just have them fresh. I'm going to separate these stalks here. All right. And I'm just going to cut, get rid of that part, on a diagonal. You know, when you cut it diagonal, it's pretty. So that's why we're doing it. Cut that top part off. Turn this part around here. Got a little bit of the white in there. All right. Take a couple of those chili slices that we cut on top there. Got that there. Take our green onion. Spread that around. Mix that in there. And now, how do we eat this? Well, I thought of everything, people. I knew you'd want to know how we eat this. So, how we eat it is with a little bit of coconut rice. Now, this recipe for coconut rice you can find right on my website. Nice fluffy rice. We just let it sit and do its thing until we were ready for it. And now we can just fluff it up into the bowl. And we got our rice. Check us out. Episode 2, Adobo Chicken, intersectionality through food. Thank you for joining me tonight. If I had theme music, I would play my way out, but instead I will close this way. Make sure you download the Mile app. Make sure you find our event. Make sure you interact with our host so you can have a chance to win that Instapot and that limited edition apron. Make sure you sign up for the mailing list on ColumbusBlack.com. Make sure you're following me, Sulli's.kitchen on Instagram, Sulli's Kitchen on Facebook. I'm on Twitter too. You can find me there. You can check out this recipe after this weekend on my website, sulliskitchen.com. It'll go up most likely Sunday afternoon once we get everything built and approved. We created this fresh for all of you, so we got to have some time to put the recipe out there. But you'll be able to find it from ColumbusBlack.com as well as on my website, sulliskitchen.com. With that said, I want to thank my host, the provider of this platform, ColumbusBlack.com. I appreciate you so much to the team over there for giving me this chance to do this. I hope you enjoyed the show. I'd love to hear feedback from you. Hit me on Instagram, hit me on Facebook. Let me know what you thought. We'll be posting the replay just as soon as we are able to. You can rewatch it here on Facebook. We'll be posting it on YouTube as well. I love all of you. Hit me up anytime. The pot line is open. And good night, everybody. Have a great night.
It doesn't say live. You're just recording on here now. Just on Zoom.